It was well known that Owen adored his wife, for she had been with him through his darkest days. But no one knew that he was also keeping a young mistress, spoiling her rotten, to the point where she even flaunted their affair in front of me. Since Owen was tainted, I no longer wanted him. I stood by the window as the electronic lock behind me beeped. Someone entering the code. Owen wrapped his arms around me from behind. Miss me, honey. I immediately caught the cloying scent of sweet perfume on him. Did you change your cologne? His arms around me stiffened for a moment. He let go and sniffed himself. I probably picked it up at the cocktail party. I'll go take a shower right now, he said, heading toward the bedroom. The bedroom door closed. I turned and looked at the suit jacket he had casually tossed on the sofa. I hooked a finger under the collar and lifted it. There was a faint, shiny smudge on the lapel, like lip gloss. I took the keys from the jacket pocket, grabbed the trash bag, and hurried out. I went down to the car Owen usually drove, unlocked it, and hid a remotely controlled recording device in the back seat. Just as I closed the car door, my phone chimed. A message from Owen popped up. Honey, where did you go? Downstairs, taking out the trash. When I got back, he was waiting by the door, clinging to me. I could have taken the trash out in the morning. You didn't have to go. I pushed him away and walked toward the bedroom. It was bothering me. He didn't seem to mind, still trying to hug me. A wave of nausea washed over me. I pushed him away again and ran to the bathroom. I leaned over the toilet, retching violently. Owen stood beside me, patting my back anxiously. I threw up until tears streamed down my face, but the feeling of disgust remained, overwhelming and absolute. 3 days ago, I was at a beauty salon with my best friend, Linda. In the next room, a young girl was excitedly telling her friends how wonderful her boyfriend was. Her voice was filled with happiness. Linda teased me. People in love are terrifying. That girl is just like you. She didn't specify how, but I knew she meant my eagerness to share. When Owen and I were dating, I used to tell her all the time how good he was to me. It wasn't that I particularly wanted to share, but I had no one else to talk to. My family didn't approve of our relationship. Linda was the only one I could confide in. The girl's phone rang. Owen, I miss you. Can you come pick me up? The name she blurted out made my body go rigid. Linda squeezed my hand. It's probably just a coincidence. Your Owen loves you so much. He would never betray you. Her words calmed my anxious heart a little. Right. In a city this big, it was normal for 2 people to have the same name. It had to be a coincidence. I kept telling myself that. But when the girl left, I still pulled Linda along to follow her. I had to put my doubts to rest. But when a familiar car pulled up, it was like a bucket of ice water had been poured over me. I stumbled back, and Linda caught me. She wanted to rush forward, but I held her back. I stood behind the salon door, a voyeur to my own lives unraveling. The girl ran toward Owen's car, the hem of her dress fluttering. She didn't open the passenger door. She bent down, said something to the person inside, then opened the back door and got in. The moment the door closed, she shot a subtle, triumphant glance in my direction. She had done it on purpose. She hadn't sent me a message telling me my husband was cheating. She had made me witness it with my own eyes. Tears were already streaming down my face. Linda was furious. Why did you stop me? Let me go and tear those 2 apart. I pulled her out of the salon, and we hailed a taxi to follow Owen's car. A sliver of hope remained. What if he had lent his car to a friend? But a deep sadness washed over me. The name could be a coincidence. The car could be driven by someone else. But when both appeared at the same time, I could no longer deceive myself. Owen's car stopped at a residential complex, just 1 street away from our home. I was curled up in Linda's arms, my face a mess of tears. When Owen got out of the car, took the girl's hand, and led her into the building, my last hope was shattered. It felt like a punch to the gut. The pain made my whole body tremble. The taxi driver handed Linda a pack of tissues. Her eyes were red as she wiped my tears. Faith, don't scare me. Linda, how could he? Linda took my phone and saw a message from Owen. I told him I was staying at her place for a couple of days. She took me back to her apartment. I sat on the bed, my eyes vacant. Linda wanted me to sleep, but I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was Owen and that girl. His tenderness, the gifts he gave me, the places we had been. All of it was now tainted with their faces. I stayed at Linda's for 2 days. On the third day, I showered, changed, and quietly ate the meal she had prepared for me. Linda, don't tell your parents about Owen's affair. And don't tell mine either. She looked at me, exasperated. You still can't let go of that cheating bastard, I said calmly. Divorcing him now would be letting him off too easy. Hearing this, Linda's eyes lit up, and she eagerly asked how I was going to get revenge. I shook my head. It's not revenge. It's just taking back what's mine. I went back to the salon with Linda. From the staff, I learned that the girl's name was Sophie, and she had started coming to the salon about 2 months ago. 2 months. That meant Owen had been cheating for at least 2 or 3 months. And 3 months ago, I had been visiting my parents for over a week. He had most likely started the affair while I was away. I told Linda to act as if she knew nothing. Then I went back to the home I shared with Owen. Before he came home, I told myself over and over to be calm. I calmly hid the recording device in his car. Then I calmly went upstairs. But when he came to hug me, I couldn't stop the wave of nausea. Owen saw me retching until tears streamed down my face. He grabbed his phone to call for an ambulance. I stopped him. No need to go to the hospital. I'm just a little tired. I'll be fine after some sleep. He looked at me hesitantly, but seeing my insistence, he helped me to the bed. The moment I sat down, I couldn't help but wonder if he had brought Sophie to our home. Had they made love in our marital bed? The thought made the bed feel as dirty as he was. I shot up. I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight. He looked at me, confused. What's wrong? Nothing. There's just a smell on the bed. He took my hand and led me toward the bedroom. The maid probably hasn't changed the sheets in a couple of days. I'll sleep in the guest room with you. I pulled my hand back. No, I don't like the perfume you brought back from the party. He sniffed himself. I've showered. Don't be mad at me. Honey, let's not sleep in separate rooms. Okay. I can't sleep without you. His words still caused a pang of pain in my heart. I feigned anger. Who told you to come home smelling so sweet? You can sleep alone tonight as punishment. I wasn't usually one to get angry, but I occasionally liked to throw little tantrums to make him coax me. So, he didn't suspect anything. He thought I was just upset that he had come home late. He pleaded for a bit, but when I didn't relent, he gave in. 5 years of dating. For years of marriage. He had always spoiled me, indulging my every whim. I closed the guest room door and locked it from the inside. I could hear his fond laughter through the door. It made him seem so hypocritical. He could tell me he loved me, dote on me, be attentive to my every need, and then turn around and sleep with Sophie, spoiling her rotten. In the middle of the night, my phone chimed. Honey, there's an urgent document at the office I need to sign. It's too late, so I'll just stay at the office. I'll bring you wontons in the morning. I heard hurried footsteps in the living room, then the sound of the door closing. He would come up with any excuse to leave. What document needed to be signed in the middle of the night? Was I that easy to fool? Or had my trust made him too complacent? I opened the guest room door and went to the window. I saw his car drive away. I took out my phone and activated the remote recording software. After a moment of silence, I pressed record. Although the device and the phone could be controlled remotely, I couldn't listen in real time. I sat on the sofa, numbly watching the time pass. At 2 a.m., I ended the recording. The audio file was sent to my phone. I pressed play. A few seconds later, Owen's voice came through. Wait for me at the entrance to the complex. His voice was filled with impatience. Then, Sophie's excited voice. I'll be right down. Owen had her on speakerphone. Their conversation was recorded, word for word. Didn't you say you were staying home with your wife tonight? Why this sudden change of heart? Owen chuckled. Because I missed you. Of course. My wife is no match for a little vixen like you. His words were like a sharp blade plunging into my heart. His flattery made Sophie ecstatic. All right, then. Drive safely. Remember to wear that outfit I told you about. You devil. She purred and hung up. A moment later, I heard a tapping on the car window. The window must have been rolled down. Owen's voice again. Get in the back. Sophie whined. But I've never sat in your passenger seat. Sophie. His tone was a bit cold, but still indulgent. Fine. Fine. I know the passenger seat is for your wife. I won't sit there. I heard a car door open and close. She had gotten into the back. Take off your coat. Let me see, he said, his voice a lazy, teasing drawl. There was a rustling sound. She must be taking off her coat. Owen's voice was a little hoarse. You little vixen. A door opened and closed again. He had moved to the back seat. The sounds of kissing and panting filled the empty living room. After what felt like an eternity, Sophie's tearful voice came through. Owen, do you love me? He panted. Of course. Then more sounds of passion. I played the recording over and over. Every word was a needle in my heart. Again and again. Until the phone battery died. The phone shut off. The sky was getting light. Sunlight streamed through the glass into the living room. I sat like a statue, my eyes empty and numb. I heard his car pull up downstairs. I grabbed my phone and went back to the guest room. The front door opened. Then there was a knock on the guest room door. I curled up under the covers. I felt so tired, completely drained of energy. My face was cold and wet with tears. I don't know how long I lay there. I must have drifted off. I don't know if I was really asleep. My mind was awake, processing the pain, but my brain was dreaming. I dreamed of my past with Owen. We had known each other since we were children, but only became close in high school. Our families were well off, and our parents were business partners. But my parents didn't like me getting too close to him, even though my father had a good relationship with his parents. 40 days before the college entrance exams, his family suddenly went bankrupt. All their former friends, including my parents, avoided them. But by then, I was already secretly dating him. When it came time to choose a university, I ignored my parents' objections and chose the same one as him. They were angry that I had followed him to another city. For 4 years, my father rarely contacted me. My mother and brother, however, called often. After his family's bankruptcy, Owen paid for his tuition and living expenses by working various part-time jobs. I wanted to help him with the money my parents gave me but was afraid of hurting his pride. So I worked alongside him. In his senior year, he started a business with a friend. To secure funding, he drank so much he developed a stomach ulcer. Seeing him in the hospital bed, my heart ached. Fortunately, he got the investment. We got married right after graduation. His company grew, and he made a name for himself in the city. I remember our first year of marriage. The company was still in its early stages. To save money, we lived in an old, run-down apartment that cost $600 a month. The building was old, and the hallway lights rarely worked. I was afraid of the dark, so he would pick me up from work every day. The second year, we bought our own place and moved here. It was our first home. Even though we now owned many properties, we had always lived here, because this was truly our home. Every piece of furniture was chosen by us. Together. I thought that after all we had been through, we would continue to walk hand in hand. But he had cheated. He had betrayed me. And he had betrayed our love. It was noon when I woke up. Owen was gone. The wontons on the table were cold. I had the maid throw them out and ate a little of what she had made. Back in my room, I uploaded the recording from the car to the cloud. I called Linda. Linda, I'm going back to the capital for a few days. Can you find me a reliable private investigator? I need him to get proof of Owen's affair. She readily agreed. I took my ID and went straight to the airport. I didn't pack anything. I needed a few days to clear my head. With him always around, I couldn't think straight. I could have gone somewhere else to avoid him, but I chose to go back to the capital because I needed to tell my parents that I wanted a divorce. Besides, only with me gone would he feel safe enough to see Sophie, and the investigator could get the photos more quickly. I didn't want to be entangled with him any longer. If I had thought about divorce the moment I found out, then listening to that recording over and over last night had solidified my resolve. After all, we had known each other for 10 years. He knew exactly how to make me soften. After landing, I took a taxi straight home. My mother was thrilled to see me but, noticing my tired expression, ushered me inside with concern. I held back my tears and followed her in. My father was sitting on the sofa, reading. Dad. His tone was not friendly, but when he looked up at me, he forced out a word of concern. Why are you back? Have you eaten? Tell your mother what you want to eat. I knew he really wanted to ask why I was back. Ever since I had followed Owen to another city for college, my father had been cold to me. He had never approved of our relationship. Not before his family went bankrupt, and not after. Even after Owen had successfully started his own business, my father still disapproved. My mother sat me down on the sofa. She stroked my hair. her voice filled with concern. Don't mind your father. He's just stubborn. Tell me, why are you back so suddenly? My father, pretending to be engrossed in his book, kept stealing glances at me. Mom, Dad, Owen cheated on me. I want a divorce. As the words came out, my tears started to fall. With a snap, my father slammed his book shut. Faith, your mother and I told you not to get involved with him, but you insisted on chasing after him, all the way to another city. I thought after a couple of years of hardship, you would come to your senses. But no, you went behind our backs and got married right after graduation. All these years, you've never listened to us. Who are you crying to now? My mother nudged him. Faith, don't mind him. He's all bark and no bite. My father threw the book on the table, stood up, and went upstairs. My mother held me. Don't cry. We'll get a divorce. In the middle of the night, I went downstairs for a glass of water and saw the light was still on in the study. I poured a glass of milk and knocked on the door. My father opened it. Seeing me, his tone was gruff. What are you doing up? I went into the study and put the milk on the table. Dad, I brought you some milk. Finish your work and go to bed early. He glanced at me. Changed your mind about the divorce. I had broken his heart for Owen for so many years. It was no wonder he thought I would forgive him. Dad, I won't forgive him. I've already hired a private investigator to gather evidence. But I have to wait. I was with him when he started his business. I won't give up a single penny of what's mine. My father sighed and ruffled my hair. You just had to learn the hard way. Faith, do you know why no one helped the Pei family when they went bankrupt? I was curious. Owen's father had known many people, had many friends. Why had no one helped? Why? My father's tone was filled with disdain. Because his father was a man of poor character. Owen's mother was with him from the very beginning. But as soon as he got rich, he kept a mistress as his secretary. If not for her threatening to commit suicide several times, who knows how many illegitimate children he would have brought home. He would even set traps for his business partners for a little bit of profit. So when his company was in crisis, no one was willing to help, for fear of being backstabbed. So that's how it was. I mumbled. When Owen's family was going through their crisis, I had thought all those uncles were heartless. It turned out they had brought it on themselves. My father continued. I know his father's actions shouldn't be blamed on him. But as the saying goes, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. With his father as a role model, who knows what kind of person he would become? And have you ever thought, a man born with a silver spoon, who lived his life in the spotlight, suddenly loses everything and is met with scorn? That kind of person would be extremely unbalanced. He would claw his way back up, his ambition growing. And once he achieved a certain level of success, he would likely start to indulge himself. And Owen is exactly that kind of person. My father's words gave me pause. I had to admit, he was a very good judge of character. If I hadn't found out about Sophie, no. If Sophie hadn't deliberately let me find out, then would she have soon become a comforting flower in Owen's office? There is no just once when it comes to cheating. With Sophie, there would soon be a second, a third mistress. He would gradually let himself go, indulging in the novelty of different people. My father took a file from a drawer and handed it to me. I opened it. It was 15 of the shares in Owen's company. The shareholder was someone I didn't know. Alex. I looked at my father, confused. Dad, this. He smiled. When Owen was starting his company, I had your Uncle Shaw's son, Alex, invest in his name. He pinched my nose like he used to when I was a child. My daughter is a fool, but her father isn't. I had to have a backup plan for my foolish girl, in case that little bastard Owen bullied her. He told me that Alex could transfer the shares to me at any time. He also said that if Owen had behaved himself, the shares would have been transferred to our child. So, all these years, though my father had been cold to me, he had always been planning for me. He was afraid that Owen would turn out exactly as he had thought. So he had secured 15 of the shares early on. I also owned 15 of the company, which Owen had transferred to me when we got married as my dowry. With my 15 and Alex 15, I would be the second largest shareholder in Owen's company. I stayed in the capital for 3 days. Owen only called me once. On the first day, I used the excuse that I wanted to spend time with my parents and told him not to interrupt. He agreed. He didn't suspect anything. Even he knew how much it had hurt me to be estranged from my parents for his sake. He probably thought I was trying to reconcile with them. Besides a good morning and good night text saying he missed me, he didn't call again. I guessed he hadn't been home for the past 3 days. On the morning of the third day, I received the photos from the private investigator. There were photos of him taking Sophie to a romantic restaurant, of him with his arm around her, going in and out of a love hotel, of them kissing in the car, of them shopping together, with me out of the city. He had indeed become more brazen. I booked a flight back for that afternoon. Since I had enough evidence, it was time for a showdown. My parents were afraid I would be bullied if I went back alone. They called my brother back from his business trip and had him accompany me to handle the divorce. Before I boarded the plane, my father stroked my head and said, "Daughter, it is human nature to crave novelty, but loyalty is a choice. You have done well. Since Owen chose to betray you, we will not have him. But not everyone is like him. Your parents will always be a rock." I knew he was afraid that because of Owen, I would lose faith in love. From discovering the affair to gathering the evidence and preparing for the showdown, it had only taken 7 days. They were the hardest 7 days of my life. It might take me a long time to heal, but I would eventually smooth over the wounds he had inflicted. I didn't tell him I was coming back today. Just after landing, the investigator told me that Owen had taken Sophie to a hotel. My brother tried to comfort me, but I calmly took out my phone and dialed the police. "Hello. I'd like to report my husband for soliciting a prostitute." We needed a moment to tear each other apart. I thought a wife bailing her husband out of jail for soliciting a prostitute would be a good one, and it would be very helpful for a smooth divorce. Sophie was a very smart person, except for that day at the salon. She had not sent me a single message or called me once in these 7 days. She probably thought that after I found out, I would go home and have a huge fight with Owen. And he, of course, would deny everything. I would become suspicious and paranoid. When he grew tired of my nagging, she would have her chance. And since she had never contacted me, even if he investigated, he would find nothing. There would be no rift between them. After signing the bail papers, I stood in the police station, waiting for him to come out. When he saw me, he rushed over and grabbed my hand. "Honey, the police made a mistake. I wasn't soliciting. That woman was from another company, here to discuss a partnership. I really didn't do anything to hurt you. It's all a misunderstanding." I said nothing, just listened to him. I looked up at Sophie, who was standing a short distance behind him. She gave me a provocative smile. Then she put on a look of guilt and stepped forward. "You must be Mrs. Pei." "I'm so sorry." Mr. Pei and I were supposed to go to the restaurant on the 2nd floor, but his in turn made a mistake and booked a room instead. Hearing such a flimsy excuse, I almost laughed. I pulled my hand from his. "Miss Shin, the apartment you're living in is worth 7 million. You have 3 days to move out and return every penny he has spent on you. Otherwise, you'll be hearing from my lawyer." With that, I ignored his terrified face and her ugly expression and got into my brother's car. Linda had helped me find all this out while I was away, including the apartment. He had spent about 9 million on her. That was our marital property. I was not going to let a mistress get away with it. My brother drove me back to our home. I had just arrived when he came rushing in. He knelt before me the moment he walked in. "I was wrong, Faith. I will break up with her. Just give me one more chance." I silently turned on the recording function on my phone and put it back in my coat pocket. "When did it start?" He mumbled. 2 months ago. But it wasn't on purpose. I was drunk. I really didn't mean to. "Owen, do you even believe your own words?" He slapped himself and kept apologizing. He said he was possessed, that he was truly sorry, and begged me to forgive him this one time. I watched him, expressionless. I suddenly couldn't remember the confident, vibrant young man he used to be. Seeing his tearful, repentant display, I felt bored. I cut him off. "Owen, let's get a divorce." I took out the prepared divorce papers. His eyes were filled with despair and regret. He tore them up. "I'm not getting a divorce. Faith, I love you. I can't live without you. Please forgive me this one time. Just once. I promise it will never happen again." I knew a peaceful divorce was impossible. I stood up. "Since you don't want to do this peacefully, then we'll go through the courts." I picked up my bag to leave. He suddenly grabbed me. "Faith, let's have a baby." With a baby, You won't want a divorce. I promise I'll never cheat again. He pushed me onto the sofa and kissed me. Owen, let go of me. I struggled to avoid his kisses. He didn't care, his lips moving to my neck. Owen, don't make me hate you. He stiffened for a moment, then tore at my clothes. He ignored my cries and pleas, his hand reaching under my skirt. Just as he was about to go further, my hand found a cup on the table. The cup shattered against his forehead, leaving a bloody gash. I took the opportunity to push him away and ran into the bedroom. Locking the door, I took out my trembling phone and dialed 911. He was banging on the door. At first, he was apologizing. Then, he started searching for the spare key, even trying to break the door down. My brother and the police arrived at the same time. My brother rushed to hit him but was stopped by the police. Owen was taken away for attempted rape, with my brother and a female officer. I gave my statement. Owen was sentenced to 2 years in prison for attempted marital rape. The evidence was solid. The evidence was my phone recording. The first half was him repenting for his affair. The second half was my refusals and cries for help. The recording ended with the sound of shattering glass and a door slamming shut. Owen sent a message asking to see me. I went. He still refused to sign the divorce papers. He kept begging for forgiveness, begging me to wait for him. I didn't know what he was thinking. I had called the police on him, and he still thought I would forgive him. I took the evidence of his affair to court and filed for divorce. The recording, the photos, the police report. The affair was confirmed. A month later, the court granted our divorce. I got 70 of his assets. Sophie returned every penny he had spent on her. The apartment, bags, jewelry, a total of $9.78 million. After the divorce, Alex transferred the shares to me. With Owen in prison, the company was in chaos. I contacted the friends who had started the company with him, who were also shareholders. With their persuasion, he sold his 45% stake to me at a 30% discount. He knew that even if he didn't sell, by the time he got out of prison, there would be no place for him in the company. Although I didn't know how to run a company, my father and brother did. A year later, I married Alex. With my parents' strong encouragement, we got together. He was a calm and reserved man, a good partner. Life was peaceful but warm. He brought me a flower every day. I no longer paid any attention to news of Owen. Linda, however, was relentless in her desire to see him suffer and told me a lot about him. I just smiled and let it go. In the 10 years that we had known and loved each other, neither of us had one. Fortunately, I did not dwell on the past. Fortunately, I still had a good future ahead of me.